Hello, and welcome to my presentation on Hinduism's approach to environmental ethics. My name is Antoine Gay. Today, we'll explore how Hindu traditions grounded in principles like ahimsa, dharma, and the Prithvi Sukta offer profound insights into sustainability and the interconnectedness of all living beings. Let's begin. Environmental issues such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and resource degradation threaten the planet. We need frameworks that inspire sustainable living, and Hinduism offers one. This tradition emphasizes reverence for nature and the interdependence of all life forms. Today, we'll explore three key areas: core principles of Hindu environmental ethics, rituals and practices that reflect these principles, and finally, how these values are applied in modern contexts, including the challenges they may face. Hinduism provides a unique approach to environmental sustainability. It addresses the global challenge of climate change, biodiversity loss, and resource degradation by emphasizing the interconnectedness of humans and the environment. Reverence for nature is central to Hindu traditions, offering valuable alternative frameworks for inspiring sustainable living practices. By focusing on Hindu ecological principles, we can learn from their rich and spiritual overview. Today's discussion will focus on three key areas: core principles of Hindu environmental ethics, including ahimsa, dharma, and prithvi sukta. Number two, rituals and practices that reflect reverence for nature, such as honoring rivers, trees, and animals. And finally, the modern applications and challenges, such as grassroots movements and reconciliation traditions with contemporary issues involved. Now, let's explore the core ethical principles of Hinduism and how they guide their relationship with nature. Hindu environmental ethics are founded on three key principles. As stated before, ahimsa, dharma, and prithvi sukta. Ahimsa, or nonviolence, promotes ecological balance by extending compassion to all living beings. Dharma, meaning duty, integrates moral obligations with environmental care. And finally, the Prithvi Sukta, ancient hymns from the Atharva Veda, revere Earth as a sacred mother. Mishra in 2018 highlights that the Earth celebrates as a sacred mother those who care ensure the survival of all. These principles collectively guide Hinduism's ecological worldviews. Ahimsa, or nonviolence, is a cornerstone of Hinduism. It fosters compassion for all life forms and promotes ecological balance. By encouraging nonviolence towards animals, plants, and ecosystem, Ahimsa lays the foundation for sustainable living practices. As Jain in 2011 notes, Ahimsa underscores Hinduism's commitment to ecological balance by extending compassion to all living beings. This principle encourages harmony in a human and environment relationship. Dharma, meaning duty, emphasizes our moral responsibility to protect the environment. Sheed, in 2024, states Hindu traditions emphasize dharmic ecology, which frames environmental care as a spiritual obligation. And Patak, in 2004, adds the dharmic approach integrates humanity's responsibility to nurture nature as a spiritual duty. This principle aligns spiritual duties with sustainable practices, making it highly relevant to modern ecological challenges we face every day. The Prithvi Sukta, a collection of hymns from the Atharva Veda, celebrates Earth as a sacred mother. This reverence fosters deep respect for nature and encourages sustainable living. Mishra in 2018 highlights the Earth is celebrated as a sacred mother whose care ensures the survival of all. This final principle underscores the reciprocal relationship between humans and nature, advocating for environmental stewardship as a moral responsibility for Hinduism. Hindu rituals reflect reverence for natural elements, such as rivers like the Yamuna and Ganges are worshipped as goddesses, symbolizing purity and life. Sacred trees, such as the Pipal and Bayan, embody ecological balance, and animals, including cows and elephants, are venerated as symbols of divine life. Narayana in 2001 states, rituals honoring sacred rivers and trees promote ecological awareness and conservation. These rituals highlight the connection between spirituality and ecological practices. Speaking more on the Yamuna River, it is worshipped as a goddess and symbolizes divinity of life. However, it faces severe pollution recently, which reflects the tension between cultural reverence and environmental degradation. Heberman in 2006 highlights the Yamuna River is a poignant example of religious reverence clashing with modern environmental degradation. Despite this, community-driven efforts are working to restore the Yamuna's purity, inspired by Hindu principles of ahimsa and dharma. These efforts demonstrate the resilience of traditional values in confronting modern ecological challenges. Grassroots movements inspired by Hindu principles demonstrate how these values are applied in real-world context. For example, the Ganja rejuvenation projects focus on restoring the river's purity by emphasizing ahimsa and dharma. Roger Gotib in 2024 states, faith-based environmental activism rooted in Hinduism provides models for addressing the global ecological crisis. To illustrate this further, I'll share a 5-minute video by Dr. Shivali Fulchand titled Hindu Perspectives on Environmental Sustainability. It explores how Hindu values inspire grassroots ecological action. Go.
Faith and the environment have always been connected in everything that we do, whether it's our rituals or our prayers. One of the key texts, the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the most ancient scriptures in Hinduism, talks about 3 principles which I think really highlight this really well. One of them is dharma, which means a lot of people translate this as duty. I like to think of it as responsibility. And there's 2 types of dharma. There's swadharma and there's sanatan dharma. Sanatan dharma means eternal duty or eternal responsibility. And it's seen as your relationship with, you might want to call it a divine source, a creator. Essentially, it's your spiritual life that kind of goes beyond this life into other lifetimes. Whereas your swadharma is your earthly duty. So it could be your job, your relationship with your family, your peers. It's kind of that duty you have to everybody else around you. And this also extends to the earth as well. So what are we doing to maintain our duty to everybody around us in a harmonious way? And it's just teaching us to live with the laws of nature and not to kind of exceed what we require. And that really leads me on to the next point about ahimsa. Ahimsa literally translates to non-violence. And although this relates obviously to action towards other people, but it's also in relation to the environment, to animals, and also to ourselves. So it's actually an all-encompassing philosophy to live your life with ahimsa. So with regard to animals, there's a direct connection. That's why a lot of Hindus revere, worship the cow, because it's seen as a symbol, or it's a symbol for a mother. And the final principle that leads on to is samadarshana, and that means equal vision. So kind of similar to the principle of ahimsa, non-violence, it's recognizing that everything, not just humans, has a spiritual origin and source. So even though, we look different, or, you look different to an animal, or you might be more intelligent, that doesn't make you superior in one sense. You are equal in quality spiritually, but you just look different materially. You must respect that in the same way that you would respect another person or your family member. So this nicely kind of all-encompassing word is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which is where you recognize the whole world as your family. But I think one story that really kind of encapsulates our current crisis is the story of Krishna and Kaliya. So Krishna is seen as God within the Hindu tradition, and he came down in a human form 5,000 years ago. And he lived as a cowherd boy in a very small town in the north of India. And there was this demon serpent, and this serpent came to the village and was polluting the river. And the river's name was River Yamuna, which is still a river present in India today. Because the river was polluted, none of the villagers wanted to go to that river because anyone that drank the water would die and be poisoned by the waters. So people become very afraid of this serpent, Kalia. Krishna didn't obviously want this. He wanted the river to be accessible to everybody, and it shouldn't be that we cannot go to one of our natural spaces. So he approached Kalia, and then there was a huge battle between them. And Kalia was on the brink of death. And at that very moment, Krishna says, I'm not going to kill you, and spared him, but says, you must leave the village and go away, and also promise that you will never poison any of the rivers again. So from that story, I think there are two very important messages. Firstly, I think a lot of us can relate to this pollution of the environment, of the rivers. We don't have serpents nowadays. We have many other things that are polluting the rivers, and I won't go into that. The point that Krishna makes by going there, wanting to clean the water, make it available for everyone, is kind of our position and how we should all be reacting to our environment. If we see some sort of injustice going on, we should also be taking a stand to make sure that we can do something about it. But what's really pertinent in the story is that even though the cause of this was this serpent, this snake poisoning the river, there was compassion at the end. And say, actually, I realized.
So this will conclude our video. Good information on that. It very much highlights the applications of Hinduism principles, and it shows how their spirituality is inclined to drive meaningful environmental change. Despite its ecological wisdom, Hinduism faces significant challenges in today's world. Urbanization and industrialization erode traditional environmental values. Pollution and deforestation threaten sacred natural sites. Chappell, 2016, observes that balancing industrial growth with Hindu ecological ethics is vital for India's sustainable future. Harris, in 2024, suggests that eco-womanism and Hindu environmental ethics together offer a unique pathway to sustainable justice. So, to conclude, Hinduism offers a rich framework for ecological sustainability through principles like Ahimsa Dharma and Privti Sukta. Its rituals reflect a profound connection between humans and nature, while grassroots movements demonstrate its practical relevance today. Singh, 2013, states Hinduism's environmental ethics provide a model for sustainable living in harmony with nature, and by applying these values globally, we can inspire efforts to protect the planet. Key takeaways from this presentation include the Hindu principles of Ahimsa, Dharma, and Privta Sukta. They emphasize ecological sustainability. Rituals reflect a deep connection between humans and nature, as we saw within this video and all of these sacred words, and that applying these values can inspire global efforts to protect the planet. Singh, in 2013, Hinduism's environmental ethics provide a model for sustainable living in harmony with nature, and Hindu traditions emphasized by dharmic ecology, which frames environmental care as a spiritual obligation within Hinduism, stated by Sheet in 2024. Thank you very much for watching my presentation. Here is my reference video page. Thank you.